So I'm very excited to have you as my co-host tonight here on 3FM and to play all these wonderful songs you've brought. But first, let's talk about your new music, because I want to say congratulations on the new Foals single 2 AM. How is it feeling to have it out here in the world for everyone to hear?
It feels great, after I guess all of the stasis of COVID, the fact that things were stopped, everything was stopped in its tracks. And we wrote 2 AM in the midst of that. It was hard to envisage things coming back to normal. Mm-hmm. And I think, we would have given anything at that time to be able to have released music then. So the fact that it's actually happening now is kind of a relief. And it feels like, a wish fulfilled. It feels like we were wishing for this. Yeah. And now it's happened. So we're just really excited, and the reaction's been great. And we just feel good to have it out in the world,
Yeah, and lyrically it's quite dark, talking about running from your fears and not wanting to be alone. What were the themes or concepts you were thinking about during the writing of this song?
It was something that I hadn't really pre-planned. I wrote the chord sequence in a spare room. I had a keyboard set up. I don't normally write on keyboard. I was just kind of bored, so I just wrote the chord sequence. And I think I'd had maybe a few drinks. But it was, again, like I said, like in the midst of the pandemic, so there were no pubs open. There was no nightlife. And I was really missing nightlife in quite a deep way. I really kind of feel that my favorite time of day is the night. I love it. And I think, just subconsciously, I just missed that feeling of that point in the night when the night either ends or it really starts to begin.
That's the turning point.
Yeah, like it's either the end of your night or it's the start of something, or it's the start of something else. So, there's always a kind of bittersweet feeling about that, and it's a complex period of time. It's a kind of there's a forked road there. It's a crossroads, and I like the kind of. There was something that felt nostalgic to me within the writing of the lyrics, and I like songs where the music is upbeat but the lyrics are contrary to that. I like that juxtaposition. But it just happened very intuitively, and I'm glad now that the pubs are back open in the UK and that people can go to parties again and stuff.
Yeah, and what you described about, the lyrics and the music, I kind of felt that when I was watching the video, that is just, you see you sitting at the bar, but also the dancing, the colors. I really like the contrast that's in the song, I guess.
Yeah, I think, the song definitely, one of the things I said to the director was like, the song for me is that it's also about that feeling in the night when you may be somewhere busy and surrounded by lots of bodies and lots of people, but they're not necessarily your people. And they're not like, there's a special type of kind of isolation you can feel in a busy place. And the song is kind of dealing with that longing for comfort and for stability and security that you get from people that are not there, but when you're surrounded by other people, and all you wish you could do is to switch those people out. So yeah, it's about all of those things, and I think that all of those themes are kind of pretty universal, and it just so we're really pleased with it, and I'm glad that the song is going to be there for the start of summer, hopefully as well.
Yeah, and I'm very happy to be able to play it on 3FM. Also happy to tell you that it's the 3FM mega hit this week. And now that I have you here, I'm wondering if you could be so kind as to record, a little liner for it. Since we have you on Zoom, and so we can use it the entire week because we're playing it every day and over again. As long as it has your name and Foals in it, and it says 3FM mega hits.
Okay, so all right, this is, what do I need to say? This is Yannis from Foals.
And then 2 AM, and then that is...
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, this is Yannis from Foals, and you're listening to 2 AM on 3FM Mega Hits.
The Wrong Way live on TV on the radio. En daarvoor hoorde je 2 AM, de single van Foals en de gloednieuwe 3FM megahit. We deden ook live even die lijn op de radio. Nederlands, Engels door elkaar. Zo international vanavond. Yannis van Foals is mijn co-host vanavond. Dus hij bepaalt wat je komend uur op de radio hoort. Yannis, could you tell me why you chose this song from TV on the radio? What about the production stands out to you?
I love, Dave Sitek's production. We recorded Antidotes with him. And our first record, which we did back in 2008, and we went to the studio in New York. And a big reason by which we decided to work with him, other than him wanting to work with us, obviously, was that we were huge fans of his production. He's in the band, and he also produces TV on the radio. I think there's something fascinating about being able to have a track with electronic drums, big distorted guitars, brass, saxophones, have a kind of like a shuffle beat, like a skiffle beat, that it's jazzy and progressive and postmodern and experimental and still tuneful and still melodic and still moving. And TV on the radio, one of my favorite bands of recent times. I think they've put out some amazing music, and a large part of that is the production, so I thought that would be a good track to choose. It's it's the first song off their first album as well, so it's kind of their announcement to the world that they've arrived.
Yeah. And from the Foals debut album to your upcoming one, Life Is Yours, is coming out this summer. So far, you've released 2 songs, Wake Me Up and 2 AM. Both have really great energetic dance floor vibes. Can we expect more of that energy on the rest of the record?
Yeah, I think that the majority of the record is definitely like driven by the grooves. It's like a groove-based record. Not every song sounds like 2 AM or like Wake Me Up. Not every song is as poppy necessarily. And there's like a variety of moods and sound textures and stuff. But I would say that in some ways before, we've released singles that kind of defy the rest of the album. Mm-hmm. They don't give you a clear idea of what the rest of the album's going to be like. Whereas I think on this occasion, these singles are very much part of the main DNA of the album. The album is joyous in many ways, not necessarily lyrically, but musically it's joyous. It's danceable. It's quite poppy in certain parts. So yeah, there's more to come from where 2 AM and Wake Me Up came from, for sure.
Cool. Sounds great. And we talked just earlier on the show about how you wrote 2 AM during lockdown when people were really missing the pub. I read on your Twitter that you just came home from the pub tonight. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I was. I wasn't there for that long, but Jack just texted me and said he was going to be in my neighborhood. And so he came about half an hour before this started. So I went over there. And actually, I was also with Isaac, who was in the Exits video. The 3 of us were hanging out. I had 2 quick pints, and I had to keep reminding Jack that I needed to be on air. So I almost was late for this interview, but I ran back, which was why I was slightly breathless at the beginning of it. But I'm all good now.
Okay, that's good. And thank you again. And I don't know if you remember, but the last time we talked was actually in a pub in the Old Nuns Head in London in 2019. Well, you were doing these interviews for the previous album. So let's have a listen to the conversation back then.
We made the record just down the road, about a 10-minute walk from here. This is where the studio that we made the album in. And I actually wrote quite a lot of the lyrics in this pub. So after the days at the studio, I would walk back here to have a pint, after a long day at the studio. So there's a few different pubs around this neighborhood that I just wrote all of the lyrics on both part 1 and part 2. Were all written in pubs around here.
Yeah, so what was it like going from writing an album in a crowded pub to writing an album during a pandemic?
I found it more difficult. I think this time around, there was something about that period when we met up and we talked. The fact that we completed 18, 19 songs in a relatively short period of time, and certainly lyrically, I wrote those songs fast. And I didn't struggle with the lyrics at all. I don't think really for any of it. You know, it just basically, for me, it was one of the periods of greatest like lyrical fertility, I guess. Like I was just writing a lot, and the pub and that environment that I described of like writing almost in public, and having people be at the forefront of my mind when we were writing was something that was amazing. And I'd be lying if I said that I enjoyed, you know, I think that I wrote some great stuff on this record, but it definitely wasn't as pleasurable. You know, I don't think that anyone enjoyed the pandemic, but I certainly, as an artist, I didn't enjoy the void of interaction. You know, like for me, it wasn't something I enjoyed. So I'm glad that things are getting back to normal. Certainly from a creative place, quite selfishly, I need to feel, I like people walking up and down streets. I like to bump into people. I like crowded places a lot of the time. I like to see different faces of different people from all parts of the world. I like to hear different languages and to go to different places. I didn't like the absence of life that COVID ushered in. So it was tricky.
Yeah. But things are getting back to normal again, so let's celebrate that tonight on 3FM. I'm very excited for the next track we're going to play. It's a beautiful track by English producer A.K. Paul. Could you explain how did this inspire you during the making of Life Is Yours?
So, you know, we were big fans of J. Paul, who is A.K. Paul's brother, and put out some amazing songs. There was a kind of quite an elusive mystique around the musician J. Paul for a variety of reasons. It's quite a long story, which I won't go into now. But if you're interested in it, you can find out about it. And with A.K. Paul, he's a musician that I admired a lot. He put out his own music. He also worked with J. Paul, and we loved the grooves of it. And it was a name that would come up when we were describing the way that we wanted certain things to sound. And we actually ended up working with him on some tracks on Life Is Yours on the upcoming album.
Cool.
So I thought it would be a good thing to pick one of his tracks and enjoy it. And he's part of the team that worked on this album. So there you go.
Dit is 3FM met net het geweldige Landcruisin van de Engelse producer A.K. Paul. En een classic van de Pixies, Hey. Allebei uitgekozen door mijn co-host vanavond, niemand minder dan Yannis van Foals. Pixies, dat is een band waar Yannis zich als tiener volgens mij volop door liet inspireren. So, Yannis, could you explain to me like this brilliant classic by Pixies? Do you remember how old you were when you first came across that band? How did they make you feel?
Yeah, I was probably 12 or 13. I just heard about Nirvana and other bands like The Offspring and stuff, and I wanted to play guitar. You know, I just was instantly captivated by the idea of alternative rock and rock music, and then I very quickly discovered the Pixies after Nirvana, and then a similar age, and then they just kind of overtook my passion. I lost myself in all of their albums. And there was something so strange about the band, so beautiful and so weird and humorous and surreal and angry. And it was just such a perfect balance of disparate ingredients. And that song, Hey, for example, is fascinating to me to this day. It sounded so good then to hear it on the radio. It's such a beautiful song, and yet it's so angry and it's so dark. And I love the way that Frank Black's lyrics lead you to places you didn't think that a few words in a verse could take you. You know, sometimes there's only five or six lines, and he can take you somewhere so powerful and so peculiar and so literary and artistic. And they're just for me, they're one of the best bands of all time.
And I think a lot of our listeners are agreeing with you on this one because they're sending a lot of messages like, happy to hear Pixies on the radio. I'm going to do this in Dutch as well. Lekker de Pixies, lang geleden. This is so complicated for me to do this both in English and Dutch, so excuse me for that. But everyone is very happy to hear Pixies on the radio again. Really looking forward to the next song on your playlist because I asked you for a song from the Zeros that you still love. And what is it about this tune that you still love, Yannis?
I don't know which tune is it.
It's from the Rapture, Killing.
Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, I lost my place in the place.
No worries.
So yeah, I just the Rapture were a band that were very formative, I think, for Foals particularly, because they showed bands like ours and a lot of the UK bands a way of being danceable and being kind of electronic and having high production values, but also still being punk and being like wild and being interesting, not just being like a classic rock band. And I think this song, particularly Killing, is an example of how they melded all of those techniques, and it still sounds fresh to this day.
Completely agree. Thank you, Yannis. Gonna play it now on 3FM. Yannis van Foals is mijn co-host. Tot aan 9 uur mocht je net intunen, binnenvallen. Je kunt ook meekijken via 3fm.nl/live. Het is de zondagavond van 3FM en daar past die perfect. The Verve, Bittersweet, Symphony. Vera on Track, niet zomaar een aflevering van Vera on Track. Yannis from Foals is mijn co-host tot aan 9 uur. En ja, het is alweer bijna tijd om ons uur samen af te sluiten. Hij heeft nog 1 prachtige track voor je. Yannis, so glad to have you on the show tonight. This was a true Britpop classic by The Verve. Why do you think this song has such an amazing staying power?
I mean, it's just genius, you know. I just think some things are famous and well liked because they're genius, because they're brilliant. And that song it's a small string sample taken from the end of a Rolling Stones record, and Richard Ashcroft just does something amazing with it. It's a song that, like, I don't know, just makes you feel things, and there's no shame in it, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and it never sounds old. It's weird.
Yeah. And what's the best moment for you? What would you say to play this song, to listen to this tune?
In my mind, like you're either in a room in your house, you're in a house party with your best friends, and you'd never heard the song before. Imagine never having heard Bittersweet Symphony before. You hear it for the first time. That would be pretty dope. Or at Glastonbury, or like a big festival, maybe Lowlands. You know, maybe like a big festival again, surrounded by your friends. I think there's something powerful about that.
Yeah, let's have a short talk about that, because I really miss festivals. I'm very looking forward to being able to, you know, stand in a crowd, look at live music again. And I assume that you have the same feeling and playing for a crowd, because do you miss like being on a stage and climbing on things? Because I remember you jumping from the balcony in Paradiso Amsterdam, if I'm correctly, like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, probably. I've probably done that. I mean, I've jumped off quite a few balconies. I really miss live music. I mean, to the point where I start to forget, like, kind of almost who I am when I'm not in the context of the stage, you know. So that's definitely been something where it's been tricky to kind of define oneself, you know, without that being there. But I'd give anything to be playing live again, and that's what, you know, we're going to be doing. Hopefully from April onwards, we're going to be playing lots and lots of shows all the way into 2023, and I just can't wait. Like, you know, for me, that's where music exists. Music exists in in the present moment on stage.
Yeah.
When it's a real thing, you know?
Yeah. Luckily, you'll be in the Netherlands soon because Foals are coming to the Avals Live in Amsterdam on the 15th of May. Really looking forward to that show. And want to thank you again for your time on this beautiful Sunday evening with this great playlist. So good to have you on the show. It's through Zoom,
My pleasure.
but we're going to see each other live on the stage and the festivals. Really looking forward to that. So let's end our hour together with another great choice. Can you tell me about this Arthur Russell song that we're going to listen to on 3FM?
Yeah, so Arthur Russell's just one of my favorite musicians of all time. I discovered him at university, and he was very much like an unknown, underrated musician. You know, it was like I had a couple of friends who put me onto him, and he seemed, you know, he's become slightly better known since then, but he's still relatively appreciated. He was a cellist, and he died very young. He put out lots of different types of songs, and this is a song called How We Walk on the Moon. It's a stunning song, and I just really wanted to get the chance to have it played on radio, and so I hope you enjoy it.
Yannis from Foals, thank you so much. Enjoy your Sunday, and see you at the Avals Live, see you at the festivals.
Thank you,
nice
Vera.
Evening.
Thanks, 3FM. All right, peace
Bye-bye.
out. Bye.